is Daffodil Day today. And I know after 2 years, they're really hoping to have a good year with the fundraiser this year, because there's very few families, I'd say, in this country that haven't been touched in some way with cancer. Well, a quarter of my beloved Westlife joins me on the programme today, Shane Filan. Shane, good afternoon. How are you?
Andrea, how are you keeping?
I'm great, yeah. I'm not bad. How are you? All well?
Good now. A lovely sunny day for Daffodil Day today.
Yeah, absolutely, and great to see it as well. I know, Shane, you are the ambassador for the Cancer Society, for the Irish Cancer Society's Daffodil Day this year. And look, unfortunately, you know better than most about the impact of cancer. Tell us about your parents, Shane.
Yeah, so my mum and dad unfortunately passed away with cancer, both of them, a couple of years ago, very close together as well, only 9 months apart. My mum suffered from lung cancer and she had it for about 4 years. She was fighting the fight for about 4 years. My dad only had it for about 15 months. He had pancreatic cancer. So they both had it together at the time. My mum passed away first, so it was, as you can imagine, a very, very difficult time for our family. And we got all that news in a very short space of time. So it really hit us hard. And I suppose since then I've just wanted to help as much as I can the Irish Cancer Society, and obviously Daffodil Day being 1 day a year. I suppose that everybody really thinks about people that have cancer. You know, and as you said there just before you started talking to me, there's very few families, Andrea, that aren't affected by cancer, or somebody's friend or somebody's neighbour, or, you know, every person in Ireland probably knows somebody that has cancer, which is a really scary thought. So I'm just trying to, I suppose, help as best I can to raise awareness and hopefully raise a few euro as well.
Very difficult, Shane, that, like, it's so hard when you lose one parent, but for both of them to be sick at the one time, and like to pass with 9 months, like such quick succession, it must have been extremely difficult on you and the whole family.
It was, yeah, you know, because my mum was obviously she was doing quite well, and she was fighting the fight really hard, you know, in and out of treatment, and she got some good news, and then obviously some bad news, and some good news. It was kind of over and back for a long time, and you know, my dad was really kind of strong, supporting her, and obviously I have 6 brothers and sisters as well, so we had quite a big family, and we were obviously all involved and helping out. But it kind of, you know, my dad's actually came as the biggest shock, because it was just after the last Westlife concert, actually 3 years ago now nearly, in Croke Park, and my 2 parents come up, and my mum was quite sick, and my mum came up to see the show, obviously, and it was their last concert they were at together. So it was a great night for me, obviously, being on stage and knowing my mum and dad were there. But then the next day, my dad just felt a bit off. My brother noticed he just looked a bit off. He doesn't look himself, you know, and went to the hospital the next day to get a checkup, and then a couple of days later found out he had pancreatic cancer, just like that. And it was like, Oh my God, you know. And we were already kind of dealing with my mum, I suppose, at that time, and trying to process that, because she was quite ill at the time. But then to hear my dad has pancreatic cancer, and obviously, as people know, you know, that can be very quick. So that really scared the life out of us. We just went, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? And so it was a real kind of rough, rocky road for about 6 months. And, you know, you can never prepare for it, Andrea. You know, you can never prepare for that news as a family. So it's a scary place, you know, for anybody to get that news. So yeah, it was very difficult, but you know, we did our best. We worked through it as best we could, and my mum passed away obviously that December, just before Christmas, and then my dad the following October. So it was a terrible couple of years. It's
very difficult to sort of grieve, I suppose, Shane, for your mum, when, you know, when your dad then is sick, and in the aftermath of that, and then he passes 9 months later. It can take some time to even let yourself, to, you know, allow yourself that, you know, I suppose, if you want to call it, the opportunity to grieve when it happens like that.
Absolutely. Like, I think we're all still a bit in shock and still getting used to it. I still go to text them and ring them and, you know, call me mum, or I'd love to go now and have the cup of tea and tell me dad that news, or, you know, we're all as a family still processing that. And like people say, oh, it gets better and better, but it's not really getting that much better at the moment. I think it's still very, very difficult, and I think it will take time, obviously. You got to process it as best you can. But I suppose being an ambassador when the Irish Cancer Society asked me to be the ambassador for Daffodil Day, I was like, absolutely, I'd love to try and do something. And I've always looked for a charity that was close to my heart, you know, Andrea, and try and really put my heart and soul into it. And this one obviously is both my parents, so it affects me, massively.
Yeah.
And I think Daffodil Day now today, I'm kind of smiling a little bit. I'm thinking of them, and every time I see a daffodil, I think of them. Like, so there's something that I suppose I can kind of process it a little bit in a happy way, to know that, raising money for the Irish Cancer Society is actually, my mum and dad are helping me do that, so it's keeping their memory alive in a happy way as well.
Do you find chatting like this, Shane, helps in any way?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the more you chat about it, the better. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Really?
Honestly, yeah. No, it's something you have to talk about, because I suppose a lot of people process it in different ways. But I'm constantly talking to my family or my wife Gillian about it all the time. Like, literally, you just mad days. You wake up and go, geez, I really missed them. Like, I can't believe they're both gone. You're in the kind of denial stage for a long time, and I don't know how long that'll take. To get better, but like it's getting better slowly. But I don't think you ever really get over it, do you?
No.
It's the whole scary fact of your dad isn't there anymore. Your dad or your mum, the person that you look up to, you talk to. Kind of Mark, actually, from the band, Mark Philly, said to me, like, he says, you're the daddy now. You're the next generation now. You got to look after your kids now, or you're the top of the pile, or whatever. Whatever way you want to put it. It's just a strange one to get used to, but. There's so many people that feel the exact same way as I do today, and or they might not get the news till tomorrow or the next week, and it's going to happen to every one of us that we're going to get that news. So, the more, I suppose, we kind of help out, the better.
Yeah. It's funny, I actually find that as well, because I lost my own dad to cancer. Would have been the December before your mum, December 2018, and I actually find that sometimes talking to strangers is nearly easier in a weird way.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. I think it's, or even talking to yourself a little bit, trying to have a conversation with them, sometimes, it's just trying to detach yourself from it, or, go for a walk or go for a run, whatever it is that clears your head. Then you just might have a moment where you think about them, because I personally find it very hard to visit their grave. I do visit it, but I find it very hard. I rather kind of sit down or go for a walk and think about them, and maybe even just kind of pretend I'm talking to them. And it does help. It really does help. Everybody has their way, and it's a very, very strange time.
I was thinking about you, Shane, earlier today, just in advance, obviously, of chatting to you here this afternoon in the show, and I was thinking, like, how difficult is it for you to kind of go through the grieving process when it's so public? Like, when you're living in Sligo, Sligo's a big place, but it's actually a very small place, I'd imagine, for someone like you, when you're such a well-known figure in the town. Does that add pressure in a way, or does it make it harder?
No, I love living in Sligo. I really do. Mark and Keane, we all live here, and we've houses here and stuff, and it's somewhere I bring up my children. I find Sligo, probably the most relaxed place to be. I don't know, maybe it just feels like home. It's something about it, and I think everybody in Sligo, like, even for my mum's funeral, like, a couple of thousand people turned up to my mum's funeral, like, and it was just incredible, the support we got, and everybody knew my mum and dad, and there's something about that I love. If I was living somewhere else, I wouldn't have that feeling, and my children are growing up the way I grew up. In not a small town, but a small town atmosphere, and everybody knows everybody.
Well, there isn't that kind of anonymity. I suppose you've the loss of anonymity in somewhere like Sligo. That's sort of my interpretation of it, particularly when
absolutely, absolutely. People are more shocked to see one of Westlife maybe in Killarney or Kilkenny or Cork, or, whereas in Sligo, there's the lads, it's where we've always lived. We've never really we've always been from Sligo, and we're always here quite a lot. So I love personally living here in Sligo, and it's a lovely atmosphere, and you always get great support here. We always have, even as a band, even when we were doing concerts here, there were always like an incredible emotional nights and amazing moments for us as a band. We're very proud Sligo people, most bands used to come from Dublin, or used to come from the big cities, and so for us to come from Sligo, and I suppose Westlife it's a great feeling to, I suppose, come from the Northwest.
How for your parents, I often think, like, when you would have been in the very early stages, yourself and Mark and Kean, when it was before Westlife, when it was IOU, and so I'm actually a big fan.
Andrea, you know, you're a big fan. You know all the.
I'm one of these weird people who's up the front, and I'm not
Nothing
joking.
Wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
I had Kean Egan on here just late last year, or actually when the concert tickets were announced, and we had a terrific chat actually in the show. But it turns out that I told him, that I was a big fan of Westlife, and we had a real sort of I had a bit of a fangirl moment over him, One of these terribly embarrassing moments that then the digital team pick and they put a video up, and you're like, please, why, no. Andrea, behave yourself today, So I'm very much controlling myself now. But anyway, look, you're back obviously performing this summer.
Yeah.
How difficult is it, Shane, to go back to Croke Park? Now, it'll be the first time, as you said, you'll be back on stage, knowing the last time you were there, your dad.
Yeah, it's not Croke Park this time; it's Aviva, but it's still been back on stage. And honestly, it's a good question because we didn't perform obviously at all hardly because of obviously the pandemic and everything that happened the last couple of years. It's been such a horrible couple of years. So, but when we did perform last year, I performed in Belfast, and it was the first time I ever performed. So it would have been a year after my dad passed away and a year and a half after my mum, or nearly 2 years. And it was the first time we were on stage as a band since probably Croke Park. And it was only because of COVID, it was a Radio 2 thing we did for London for Zoe Ball's show or whatever. There was only 156 people in the audience. I remember the number because it was like the smallest crowd we ever performed to. And it was a really intimate setting. And it was probably the most difficult performance of my life. For some reason, I just fell apart. And I wasn't expecting it. I was fine in rehearsals. I was doing it. I was singing You Raised Me Up. I was singing all these songs. But every single song I sang that night, I found it very difficult because it was the first ever time I performed without my mum and dad in the audience, knowing that they weren't going to be there anymore. And for some reason, subconsciously, it really hit me. And I tried to do You Raise Me Up. I sang You Raise Me Up, somehow got through it at the end, but I remember after it, I kind of ran off the stage, nearly running past Zoe Ball, nearly knocked her down, and I was running upstairs, and I just started absolutely bawling. I just broke down more than I've ever broke down probably in my life. And myself and 3 boys, it was just us in the dressing room. The boys were hugging me, and I was like, I just don't know what's wrong. And I didn't realise what was happening. But it was very difficult, because it hit me. Because I suppose maybe being on stage is where I felt closest to them or felt happiest or whatever. And some of the other lads' parents were there and stuff, and maybe it just all it kind of hit me a year later rather than at the time of the funeral. I was very upset, obviously, but it didn't hit me like it hit me that night. So, since then we've had a few performances, and I've more enjoyed it now. I kind of celebrate when I sing these songs. I kind of think of them in a different way. But yeah, that night was terrible. But I'm looking forward to being back on stage. Like the 4 of us are so excited about being back on stage. Andrea, this tour is actually 3 years now since our last one. Obviously Cork was put off for the last 2 years. Wembley Stadium, our first time to play Wembley.
Are you looking forward to that,
really
actually?
Exciting. Oh, honestly, bucket list stuff. Our whole life we've always wanted to play Wembley Stadium. It's not many people get to say that they've played it. So to play it is definitely one of our all-time kind of hopes that we would do it, and now we're doing it, and it's going to be an incredible night as well, hopefully.
For those of us from the Northwest, is there any chance you'll do Lissadell again?
Sorry?
Is there any chance you'd do Lissadell again?
Yeah, look, absolutely. There was talk at the time. There was talk recently of maybe it happening again. And we just don't know exactly what's happening with that. There was talk of Lissadell in general, that there might be concerts back there again. But if we get the chance to play Sligo again, we won't do it on this tour, obviously, because we're playing lots of dates around the country. But, we played Lissadell 2010, I think it was, 2011. But it was one of the best shows we ever did in our career, and still one of our fondest memories, probably in the top 3 fondest memories of our whole career. So to play Sligo, whether it be Lissadell or whether it be another venue in Sligo, it's definitely something, again, that we want to, another box we want to tick as a band, because we haven't done it in so long, and it's our hometown.
Yeah.
So, it'd be a very proud night for us, and I think, Sligo would love to see it too.
Absolutely.
And it's good for the fans. I think it's good for the fans. I think you'd have fans coming from all over the world. The last time we played there was so many flags from all over the world that were in Sligo. They got to see Sligo. They got to see where we lived, and
it was a fantastic gig.
what we're raving about. Oh, you were at the gig?
Of course I was at the gig.
In the front row.
I'm genuinely a real fan, Shane. Yeah, of course I was at the gig. No. I'll be there on July 5th in Dublin as well.
Yeah, no.
The online section where people can donate or give or get involved. Yeah. They have the details as well. They're online, Shane. It's but you're also running your own. You have your own Just Giving fundraiser too. If you want to give a mention to that.
Exactly. Absolutely. Thanks. Yeah. No. Obviously, just raising money and awareness, hopefully in general. But this year, I wanted to do something that would kind of again my parents and the concerts and keep that memory going as well. So basically, it's a chance to win the ultimate Westlife VIP experience. So if you donate to my Just Giving page on my Instagram, you can donate whatever you want, and each donation counts as a ticket. So it's basically like a raffle, and the winner basically gets to go to the Aviva Stadium and come with their family. They're going to come to the sound check. They're going to meet the band. They're going to take pictures. They're going to get a merchandise goodie bag. They're staying in the 5-star Intercontinental Hotel. Basically, just all you got to do is make one donation, and you can win that prize. And the lines are open till tonight at midnight.
Oh, fantastic!
Tomorrow, the winner's going to be picked out, and they're going to have the ultimate. If you're a Westlife fan, Andrea, if you want to donate, you have a chance of winning it.
Well, listen, I absolutely will, because I will definitely be donating to the Cancer Society today. So that will be right up. That'll be right up my street. And of course, too, at the Irish Cancer Society online through Instagram and on their Facebook page, and you'll get their details too on the website. Shane,
or anywhere around the country, even if you can buy a little daffodil or donate €2 into the box or any of the boxes out there. Everybody's just trying to help today to raise as much money for the Irish Cancer Society as possible. So anything you can give, it will be much appreciated. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the programme here at Lunchtime Live, Shane. Cian promised to be back before the gig this summer as well, so we might get yourself and himself in for a bit of a, well, I won't say a sing-song, you can sing, I won't, but the invitation's there should you like to join us before the Dublin gig. All right, Shane Filan there, of course, from Westlife, 53106 if you want to get